Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Run Selfie Repeat podcast, where we talk about life with a side of running. My name's Kelly Roberts. We've been doing this for quite a while now, very long time. I want to say 2015, 2016, we kicked off this show. So it's been going for a hot second, and we're still kicking. I love this. I love this podcast because, one, what an evolution over the last almost 10 years. It's like 7 or 8 years we've been doing this, and it's like when I first got started, so much of it was me unpacking what I was experiencing and what I was going through and chasing big goals for the first time and trying to figure out why I was afraid to call myself an athlete or a runner, like really trying to figure out the whys behind it all. And there came a point where I realized I should just be a coach. I was so scared to be a coach. I vividly remember talking to my old coach, Rebecca Stowe, about this, saying, like, "I don't want to coach. Like, literally coaching is the last thing I wanna do. Why would I do that when someone can come to someone like you?" And she's fabulous, like, truly fantastic. Definitely an incredible, incredible coach, but we're just different. We offer very different backgrounds. We have the same philosophy and we believe a lot of the same things, but we have completely different lived experiences. And I have a very different lived experience than a lot of coaches. And so all this is to say, I had to get out of my own way. I really, really didn't think I would be a good coach because I found running so late in life. And I really struggled to understand why that would actually be the asset it is and why I am the only me, and sure, there are tons of really great, fabulous coaches out there, but no one does what I do because I'm the only me, if that makes sense. But I don't know, I'm just feeling a little introspective, and it's just so wild that it's so wild that so much of this transition and this journey to, like, learning and evolving has happened here on the Run Selfie Repeat podcast. Like, you could probably listen to the whole thing and, like, listen to me start to get curious about things that I thought to be true and learn were so not, and understanding how all the different puzzle pieces interconnect and all that good stuff. It's wild, and now to be the coach I am, and I've been coaching for 4 or 5 years now, a while. It's fun, it's so fun. It is like the Badass Lady Gang team and our training experiences. It's incredible to get to, and even people who just listen to the podcast and come up to me and talk to me about, like, what they've learned and some of the different, like, tools that are now in their tool belts. It's so gratifying to me, and it's so, so rewarding. It's why I do this. I'm so glad I became a coach. I'm so glad I didn't, like, let fear stop me from taking that leap of faith and giving it a shot to see what I was like as a coach, because I love it. I love coaching. I love being able to share my insights and my experiences here on the podcast with all of you. It's fabulous. What a cool few years. Podcasting's wild. Anyways, in case you're wondering why I'm all done up, I'm laughing because I am not done up. I literally just went for a run a couple hours ago, and I've just been trying to catch up on email. It's like early 2024 for me in real time. And I tried to take like a week off of work. I still worked like 2 or 3 hours a day. But that for me is a big break. And that meant that I am just behind on a lot of stuff, and I have a lot of emails to catch up on, and I hate emails, and I'm the type of person that will just, like, not respond to an email, but it will stress me out. Like, I'll just see that number, like, 50 in my inbox, and I'll be, like, stressed about it. Instead of doing something about it, I'll just look at it for weeks. I'm trying to respond to the ones that are really important and actually just, like, open the ones that aren't and delete them, but God, I'm such a there are some things I want to change about myself, and my email is one of them. But crazy, crazy, crazy. It's all happening. Anyways, all this is to say, we're videoing these. So if you want to watch these episodes on YouTube, you can. That's where I'm sharing them. And then I'm also, of course, sharing them on social media, little clips. But not only can you find this wherever you listen to your favorite YouTubes, oh my goodness, Kelly Roberts. Not only can you listen to this wherever you listen to podcasts. Oh my God, my cats are being wild. But now you can watch me if you're like, if you really want to see what, you know, this beautiful mug has to say to you. Remember, I I mean, honestly, this is like such a full circle thing because do you remember like way back in the old days, BQ or bust, early BQ or bust, like anytime I would videotape myself, my hair was done because I would literally do my hair, do my face. I was so self-conscious about being seen without being all done up. And now could not care less. I think I put makeup on like 3 days a week, 3 days a year, 3 days a week, 3 days a year, maybe 5. It's not happening for me. I don't care enough to try to make other people think I look a different way. Not to ick anyone's yum. Like I don't care if you wear makeup. I don't look at people who wear makeup and say like, "Oh my god, you're so insecure." That does not happen, and that's not what I'm saying. But I've saved a lot of money and I'm so much happier not having to wear makeup. And I also just struggle with I have polycystic ovary syndrome and I have terrible hormonal acne. And that's just like one less thing I have to worry about is like putting shit on my face because it just sucks. Hormonal acne as a 34-year-old woman sucks. Part of me is like, do I go back on Accutane? Like I did Accutane when I was 28, maybe 29. What was that? 2018 maybe? Something like that. And it worked. It really worked, but it was really hard and expensive. Like you have to get blood tests and then your face dries out. It was so crusty and honestly, it was like the last 2 months that were really uncomfortable for me. The rest was fine and manageable, but I wish I would have done Accutane earlier and a part of me feels like should I do it now? I don't know. I feel like I'm just gonna have to live with this hormonal acne forever. It's cystic, it's deep. I've been on tretinoin forever since I was like 15. I've been on retinols. I take the antibiotics. I do all the things. Like please don't come at me with you should try this because there genuinely is nothing I haven't done. The only thing I haven't done is found a doctor who will help me with my PCOS, actually. That's why I lie. That is the one thing I haven't done. But don't come at me with fixing my gut or any of that bullshit. Just don't come at me with it. I'm happy for whatever journey you're on, but unless it's a doctor guiding, I'm just not into it. If you see cats running back and forth, my cats are in X Games mode today. It literally started at like 4 in the morning. They're on like hour 12 of acting insane. They're acting wild. They're wild girls. Gladys, are you being crazy? She looked at me with wild eyes just now and was like, define crazy, mom. That's what I'm feeling. So yeah, you might see some little kitty cats running. Pew, 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 pew. My poor neighbors. Anyways, how's everybody doing? How are we? We're in our second week of January. I'm getting ready to go out to California for the Disneyland half marathon weekend. I'm not doing the half marathon. I'm doing the 5K and the 10K, which the 5K is like probably the best 5K course I've ever seen in my whole entire life. It is strictly in the 2 parks, which is incredible. So exciting. And then the 10K has a bit outside the parks, but a lot inside the parks. And then I'm not doing the half marathon because I've done the Disneyland half marathon 3 times, and you spend a lot of time outside the parks, and I just don't need that in my life, you know? Staying at the Disneyland Hotel, spending so much money because I thought, like, in past years, it always ended right outside the Disneyland Hotel, and I thought, "How convenient will it be to just walk right upstairs to go shower or go to bed?" No. It's ending so far away, out, like, by the Marriott on Harbor or something, like, at least a mile or 2 miles away, which is dirt. Like, so dirt. I'm so angry about it because I literally looked at the Marriott that it's near, and I was like, "Should I just stay at the Marriott and get Marriott points?" And I was like, "No, girl, splurge. Stay at the Disneyland Hotel. Spend $100,000. It's fine. It'll be fine. It'll be so nice when you finish to go right upstairs." Thank you, Run Disney. Stoked. So stoked. It's still gonna be fun. I'm dressing as Mrs. Banks. You know that song Votes for Women, which is so sad because the actress who just played her died this week or last week. She was 100. But iconic song, Votes for Women. You know that one, our daughters will adore us. Da-na. Sister suffragettes. You know, Katie Nana. What does she say about men? Something about like men, we love them, but I don't know. It's not coming to me, even though it's been in my head forever. But I found this like really, really cheap blue sport dress at Nordstrom for $25. And then I kind of like DIY'd my Votes for Women sash. And then I have this hideous hat that I'm still on the fence about wearing. But easy costume. And then I was gonna do Powerline, seeing it eye to eye from Goofy Movie. I was gonna do Powerline, and the outfit that I have is, like, mid. It's, like, not great. It is the colors don't match, the shorts are see-through. I don't know, it's just, like it's, like, really, really just phoning it in, which is on brand, TBH. I don't know. I'm on the fence about whether or not to go as Powerline or just to, like, wear whatever I want. It's just, like, it's so fun to dress up when you do a Run Disney race, you know? So a part of me's like, "Are you really not gonna dress up? Are you really not gonna dress up?" The first time I ever did Run Disney, that was, like, the first half marathon I ever did, and, I had very little notice. I literally the week of got the chance to do it, and so we wore tutus? So we wore tutus. We weren't anything, but we did wear like, rainbow tutus, and then the next time I did it, I think I did it with my sister, question mark, and we were Captain Hook and Smee-ish. It was very cosplay-y. So my sister ran with a hook for, like, all of 2 miles before she was like, "Get it off me," and it was her first half marathon ever, and I was like, I get rid of that hook." For sure. I think she kept it on until we got a photo with Captain Hook and Smee, and then she ditched it. And we both had tutus that we immediately ditched the second we got out of the parks because it was so hot, I remember, and we were like, "Why are we wearing these? What a waste of money." And then on that last time I did it, I was Darla from Finding Nemo, like a rock and roll chick, the shirt, and then I don't know. It was like early days of the internet online buying. So like I just remember that costume costing a lot of money and it was like so mediocre. But whatever. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I for sure am gonna do it once, but Votes for Women. I don't know about the second outfit. We'll see. We'll see. Anyways, wow, what a long introduction. So here's what we're talking about today. In case you're like, what are we talking about? We're talking about a topic that is one of my favorite topics. It's unrealistic expectations in running. And here's the thing. A lot of these expectations are unrealistic only because no one teaches you how to check in and like challenge and unpack expectations that you have. And a lot of the time, so much of it is brand new. All of these experiences are new. They're for the first time. You don't have prior experiences to call upon. You don't have a history of running. Maybe you don't know runners. So a lot of the time, everything that you're experiencing is either learned from the media or social media, or you're just straight up like online on Reddit trying to figure out like what's happening and what is this feeling so sudden and new, like that all the time. So I kind of wanted to unpack a lot of these unrealistic expectations that we have in running, some of the more common ones, because this is the time of year where one, a lot of people are starting to run, but two, a lot of people are coming back to running. Maybe you took a break and you were like, I want to get back to running in the new year, or this is a podcast and you can listen to it whenever you want. And more often than not, I have a lot of people coming back to running, or they're coming back after a break, an injury, or they're starting running, or this is all just shit that is so helpful and beneficial for all of us to know. So let's get into it. Let's talk about some of these unrealistic expectations in running, and most importantly, just expectations in general and how we can really get specific about, oh, this is what I believe to be true, or this is what I expected. Okay, this actually might be more in the realm of a long term goal, or okay, perfect. This is what I want to be feeling. How do I get there? Or this isn't what's happening right now, and here's why. So, first, this is for all of my newer runners, right? I think the biggest unrealistic expectation that so many people have is that it isn't as struggly as it is, or that not going to be it's gonna be hard, but it won't be this, like, really, 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 really gnarly, uncomfortable thing, and it is that, right? Like, running kind of sucks. It does. It hurts. You have to spend a lot of time alone with your thoughts and alone with discomfort, and for a lot of newer runners, you might think that you should be feeling comfortable sooner, or that you shouldn't feel as, like, fish out of water as you do, but it's painful. It's really, really hard, and for a lot of people, running feels very unnatural, like, a lot of the time. Like, it just doesn't feel good, which I know, why would you do something that doesn't feel good? But that's not it, right? Like, running is so much, but for a lot of it, especially in the early days when you're getting an aerobic base down, when you're starting to run or getting back to running, or you're coming back from an injury, et cetera, it just feels uncomfortable and really clunky. So having that expectation that you should be able to Forrest Gump it after a month, or that you shouldn't feel as heavy or struggly as you do, it's not it. I don't know why so many of us come into it with this idea that it should be easier than it is, but I know, like, just coming from my own personal experience and after having coached thousands upon thousands upon thousands, thousands and thousands of new runners, everybody, so many of us look for reasons to confirm that running isn't for us. And if you go into it doing that, you're going to find a million. Running is for everybody. Some people absolutely take to it faster, and some people have just like are natural runners, and it is totally okay. You can kick ass and take names if you are not a natural runner. I would not describe myself as a natural runner. I do think I'm a naturally competitive person, and that plays to my advantage, but running is not something I am innately good at all. By no means is running something I'm good at. It is something that I like take to quickly. I know when I'm good at something. I know when I take to something. I know when I'm a natural at something. Running is not it. And I've had great success in running, and it's really fun. Running is one of the few things I think that is so, I hate using the word easy, accessible. It's accessible because no, it isn't as simple as you just need a pair of shoes and a good sports bra and you're on your way. It's not that simple. But in terms of like comparing it to something like cycling, cycling, you need so much shit. You need a bike. It's if you're clipping in, you need shoes. You need, like water bottle holders and water bottles, and you need like all this stuff and where's stuff gonna go? And you need a helmet. And you need something like glasses to keep the dust out of your eyes. Whereas with running, like you really do just need a couple of things and then you can kind of go. It's easier to do running in a lot of different environments and weather than it is something like swimming or cycling, et cetera, et cetera. So in terms of the ease of being able to just go, that's with running, but it is a struggle. It is a struggle. Set that expectation for yourself that it's just going to be a struggle for a while. Like the first year is just a struggle. It is really hard to be a beginner. It is really hard to look quote unquote stupid and feel like you don't know what you're doing. That's very intimidating for a lot of people. But being a beginner and being new at something is such a gift. I think if we could start moving to a place where feeling like a fish out of water or feeling like we're doing something wrong or being a beginner, if that feels like a negative thing, what are some of the ways that we can really look at it like a gift? Because you're never going to have the ignorance that you do today if you're a brand new runner, and it is a gift for everything. It's okay to be a beginner. It is so much fun to be a beginner because the world's your oyster. There's nowhere to go but up, right? So try really hard to unpack what's scaring you. What does failure look like for you? And let's make sure that if you're defining failure as not making it to the end of an 8-week program or not being able to run a 5K, let's just like set some other things that we can really work towards over. Let's say you download my free 5K 8-week plan, you get the PDF, and you're saying, okay, if by the last workout of this 5K 8-week plan, I'm not able to run the 5K, I'm a failure. And it's like, no, no, maybe the goal is to get out 3 days a week. I don't care if you run all of them. I just care that you get out 3 days a week. I don't care if it's a walk. Show up for yourself the way you do. Maybe you start to investigate, what am I saying to myself before and during those runs and after? Maybe you get a journal and you write them down. Maybe you're starting to give yourself permission on days. If you do a day and it just feels like absolute dirt, maybe you repeat that day, right? Give yourself a day off and then you do it again. It is always okay to adjust a plan to meet you where you are. It's always okay to repeat weeks, all of that. Like, make it yours and own it. Yes, does that make sense? Beautiful. Another unrealistic expectation that I think a lot of runners, especially newer runners, have, as these, and this isn't like day one runners, but like maybe runners who are in their first year or two of running, is the quick progress. Because you are going to progress rather quickly. And it is really fun to watch. Sometimes you'll shave giant times off of stuff, like I'm trying to think of really good examples. I've had so many athletes, maybe their first half marathon is like a 3 hour, 5 minute, and then their next one is a 2:30. They shave like 35 minutes off of their half marathon time. I mean, I've had athletes that go from 2:40 to 2, and it's like that is such a huge jump in pace, like especially with you do time trials and maybe your first time trial is something like 12:30 and then your next one is 11. Big chunks of time are being shed and quickly. And maybe you get this idea that this is always how it's going to be is you're always going to get faster or you're always going to see improvements rapidly. And I would challenge running is a very easy one to define outcomes with, right? The race, you finish in a certain amount of time. The training experience, it takes a certain amount of time. The journey is 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks, whatever, right? Pace, you've all of these black and white outcomes that you can define and maybe kind of sort of define progress and improvement with. But I would really encourage you to also look for process. Things like ease of getting out the door, not feeling so overwhelmed or scared or doubtful when you're doing speed play sessions, not getting so caught up with every little thing and comparing it to other people, and really getting to a place where you're working to be really present and you're working on all the different tools that you're reaching for, that sort of stuff. Like that's progress. That's the type of stuff that's going to serve you forever, starting to feel different effort levels, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not always quick and you're not always going to see huge improvements. Like when I think of my first 4 or 5 years as a runner, I went from just like strictly talking marathoning. I went from 440 something, I think it was like 442 maybe, 442 to like 410 maybe, to 402 to break it. I broke 4 and then 330, 340 something, 341 and then back to 4 and then eventually got it down to 335. So 337. I think I was 337 to my PR. I don't even remember. So progress is not quick. It doesn't happen like that. It just doesn't. Yes. The next one I even hate bringing up, weight loss. Because one, I think running is the such a slippery slope for so many people because it has been sold as this way to lose weight for so long, like as like the way to lose weight, jogging or whatever. Like even our ideas of what a runner looks like are shaped by this notion that runners look a certain way. And but you can fight me all day long, but it is true. Like a lot of us have this idea of what a runner looks like. And I know that's not true. We know that runners come in all different shapes and sizes, but it is something that has been sold to us for so long that it's very difficult to change the way we think about that and our beliefs around that. And it's a conscious thing. Like we need to keep working on it. But more importantly, for a lot of people, they let's say you're training for a half marathon or a marathon, you might notice shifts in the composition of your body, right? Your body will change, but it just like how in a big build, whether you're in a training cycle or whatever, you're going to come out of that training cycle. Our bodies are meant to change and you have to come back down the mountain. And a lot of people get stuck on this hamster wheel of I need to stay in this shape. I want to look like this. Marathoning is famous for this. A lot of people really struggle with letting go of what they look like when they run a marathon. This is a huge part of post-marathon blues, is letting go of how fit people get, and they don't wanna let go of how fit they are, so they stay on the hamster wheel and they keep going and going and going and going and going. And I'm not saying that that's unhealthy for everyone, but a lot of people really struggle to come back down the mountain or accept that there will be times in their life where they're gonna be crazy fit, and there'll be other times where fit is good enough, and that's great for them. So just keep your curiosity goggles on and notice if you ever start to have certain thoughts pop up or you start to ideate about stuff or you start restricting stuff, like get help. There are incredible health at every size social workers and therapists out there who can help you to make sure that running or movement is something that helps you feel good about yourself and focus on what you're doing in your body instead of what you look like in your body, because we live in a diet culture world where we are obsessed with what we look like and our weight is attached to our worth, all that. And it doesn't need to be that way, but it does take a conscious effort to just like constantly fight off the diet culture dementors. Another one, a lot of people think that they'll stay injury free. Oh, it's just the worst part about running is it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And a lot of new runners especially underestimate the risk of injury, and it sucks, right? Like this one kind of goes hand in hand with that quick progress. Maybe you don't know the amount of time it takes to go from X to Z, X to Z or whatever, right? Like let's say you just ran a half marathon and now you're like, "You know what? There's a marathon in 8 weeks. The training plan I'm at, I think I can do this." And so they take it on and then maybe they get a little injury, whatever. Injuries happen. So it's really important that you are always making sure that you are really coming at it holistically. You're working on your mental game, you're working on your physical game. You're not just running, you're cross training. You are doing your strength work, you're prehabbing injuries, because the only way to stay injury free is to actively work to stay injury free. And then here's the real kicker: even when you do everything you can, injuries still happen. So, physical therapy is your friend. You do not need to be injured to go to a physical therapy, but not all physical therapists are made equal, in the same way that not all therapists are great. You really want to try to find a physical therapist who sees runners. They're going to just work with you differently. So, womp womp, injuries are a piece of the puzzle. Everyone is different. This is one of the expectations that I wish we sang from the rooftops. Just like everyone runs differently, experiences training differently. Even though we have cookie cutter training plans, like if you go online and you get a training plan, or you come to me and you get a running plan, everyone's different. Everyone adapts differently. Everyone's lives are different. There's no such thing as one plan that serves everyone. We all need to accept that plans need to meet us where we are and that they need to serve us. It's not a matter of us constantly trying to raise to our training plan. It needs to work, like harmoniously with us and our lives. If you are signing up for something and it's asking so much of you and you don't have that much to give, you are setting yourself up for failure or injury. It is okay to do less. It is okay to get a plan that serves you. Not everything needs to be the hardest level. I watch this all day long with my athletes. We have 4 different levels of running plans: level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. And the only difference is the amount of running, the volume, and the intensity. It is not a matter of beginner-ish runner, intermediate-ish runner, and advanced. It is like, no, how much running can your body handle? How much running can you handle? How much time do you have to dedicate to this goal? Like those are the things. And like I can't even tell you how many people come to me with like a level 2 or level 3 after having not ran for 3 months, and I'm like, that's not where you are. Start with level 1 and we can bump you up if like after a month you get back into the swing of things. Everyone's different. Everyone is different. That's why the comparison stuff is really important, to always be mindful of how you're comparing yourself to other people and when you're comparing yourself to other people, or if you're comparing yourself to yourself, right? Are you living in the past? Are you constantly comparing yourself to the person you were 4 years ago or 1 year ago or 3 years ago? It's a different experience. Let this be its own thing, right? Get curious about what it is that you want and what would need to happen in order to make that possible, and if that's a reality for you. Yes. Um, I think this is also an important one to note. DNFing, did not finish, or falling short of a goal, all of those things are a piece of the puzzle. The only way you can ever actually fail is if you fail to try and you fail to give yourself your personal best effort. If that is the mindset that we can really work to get into, it takes a tiny bit of that fear level down when you're chasing down a really big audacious goal, a big scary moonshot goal. But it, like, doesn't always need to be a big moonshot goal. If you're coming back to something after a long time off and you just, like, are in a different place in your life, right? Running a half marathon in your 20s is very different than running a half marathon in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, right? You're different, your body is different, your energy levels are a little bit different, your availability is a little bit different, right? Like your responsibilities are different. So it can be really intimidating to come back to something and realize everything has changed. Something has changed within me. I don't know why I'm in such a Wicked mood. That's my second time quoting Wicked. Let's see if I can like really go for all of them. Although I don't even really know all the songs from Wicked. No one mourns the wicked. I'm not going to name all the songs actually. We're not doing that. That's going to take like 5 minutes. I am a sentimental man. That's the only song I ever actually skip. I'm very excited for the Wicked movies, everybody. But back to it. The only way you can fail is if you fail to try and if you fail to give it your personal best effort. That is the mindset to get into. It doesn't mean that things won't be scary. It doesn't mean that things won't be intimidating. It doesn't mean that you might find that you're defining failure in a bunch of other ways. But if you can get into that mindset, it's a lot easier. Okay, we kind of touched on this already, but it's hard to trust, especially in the early days if you don't have an athletic background or you're a newer runner and you're new to athleticism. It's very, very hard to do the work to feel like you belong or to feel like this is who you are and what you do now, right? I am a runner. I'm a real runner, especially when you're not running regularly. It is really important that you understand that all runners take time off, that all runners take time away from running. The only way to really prevent burnout is to make sure that you are involved in a bunch of different things, right? There might be times when you get into cycling or pickleball or rock climbing or swimming or dancing, right? Golf. There might be lots of different things that take you away from running, and maybe you're running less or maybe you stop running altogether. You don't need to be constantly running and chasing down goals to continue to be a runner or to feel like you are a runner or to feel like you belong or to trust that this is what you do now. And I know how hard that is. And I know how scary it is to let go or to come back down the mountain because you're afraid that you're going to quit. And I get it. I get it. I get it. That was me too. I totally understand this. But I want you to start to understand that you don't always need to fake it till you make it. You don't always need to just figure it out by like doing it and trusting that in 2 or 3 years you're going to come to the conclusion like, okay, I think I am a runner now. There's a lot of mental work that we can do to understand core beliefs, core values, what you believe to be true about yourself. Like all of this stuff is stuff we can do now so that you can trust that regardless of how much or how little you're doing in terms of your running or working out, that like you are a person who chooses to show up for yourself in ways that a lot of people don't. Like that's just endurance sports, that's endurance athletes. And you don't always need to be doing a half marathon to be an endurance athlete. And you don't always need to be training for something in order to stay motivated. You don't always need a race on your schedule in order to stay motivated. You really don't. All you need is for someone to help you understand how to structure your weeks so that you can continue to stay at a level of fitness that feels really good for you and it feels attainable and it doesn't feel like you're working too much and it still makes you feel good and is healthy for you. If you can get that, you can make decisions how and when you want to move your body because you want to. So I had this conversation with someone today. That's what you want, right? Okay. Another unrealistic expectation that people have is that they're not going to plateau. It happens, right? Plateauing happens and people expect to maintain a certain level like consistently and to not have these fluctuations or not to either it's constantly getting faster or getting stronger or that they won't get slower, and that's not how it works. You will get slower. There will be times in your life where you'll be faster and there will be times in your life where you will be slower. There'll be times in your life where you're going to run more, and there will be times in your life when you won't run a lot. It's just natural. If you're constantly chasing outcomes, you will plateau and you will also burn out, right? Like running is not a linear sport. It's not a matter of get a plan, follow the plan, accomplish the goal, the outcome goal. It's just not how it works. I wish it was, but it's not, right? Your life, the weather, your work, your family, your stress level, how much time you have to spend, all of these things affect goal setting and what you want out of your running and how you can show up for yourself. So remember, right? Like it's a constant up and down. It's a constant this. But when you go up a mountain, you got to come back down the mountain. You got to lose fitness. It's you have to. You have to. You can't live on top of the mountain, y'all. We talked a little bit about comparison, but comparison can be a source of motivation, right? If you're comparing yourself in a way that does feel motivating and isn't making you think, why am I not like this person? And you're not able to see the differences between you two, or straight up, if you're comparing yourself to someone who is totally different than you and does not have the same, you know, experience level, time to do certain things, resources, right? Like if you're comparing yourself to someone who can get a massage a week and go to physical therapy and has a personal trainer, is that really like helpful to have compare yourself to that person and wonder why, your experiences are different? No, like it's really important to constantly remember that like comparing is normal, comparing is natural. We as people like to categorize. We're always looking for ways to define and make meaning out of things. It is when comparison starts to make you feel like you're not doing enough, or you'll never, or you start predicting the future, or you start getting away from what's actually true. That's when it's no longer helpful. It's just hurtful. Does that make sense? Okay, this next one. I don't even want to talk about it because I hate it so much. Patience. So many runners, they do not understand that running is all about patience. Running and golf, I think, are like two sports that are like, they just like pump your patience muscle, and you have to stay patient and present because like, it's just like the setbacks, the motivation wanes. You will be discouraged. You will be a head case. Like, there's so much that happens, and you just have to remember about every single coin that you're putting into the coin jar, right? And it's the money that adds up that you normally would be like 5 cents. Who cares about 5 cents? But 5 cents 3 times a day over the course of a year, like that's money, honey. Like every single cent counts. Everything counts and everything compounds. It's just the way it goes. So you have to remember that just because something's a no right now doesn't mean that it's not right now, right? Like that's not what I'm trying to say. Just because you're getting a no, right? You train for something, it doesn't happen. That no is not a resounding no. It's just not right now. And everything, all those coins that you put into that coin jar, you don't just like give those coins away. You keep building that coin jar up and up and up and up and up. And like I said, that interest compounds. Like the more you know and the more you experience, the more that serves you. You just get smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter and more efficient and better at your sport. You just hone your craft and you really, really do become these experts. And that level of mastery is only comes by doing. So stay patient, stay alert. Remember that everything serves a purpose. Every day serves a purpose. Everything matters. Be a sponge. Keep challenging what you think you know and put those curiosity goggles on. But patience is a real bitch. PRs. Life is not about chasing PRs, y'all. It just isn't. I personally am a much bigger believer in personal bests over PRs. Why? Because what is a PR? A PR is one time that you get that you hit your best. And I'm not trying to diminish a PR. I do completely understand and believe in how rewarding it is to work really, really hard for something and to see it pay off. But if you aren't focused on your personal best effort in PBs, you are missing so many different opportunities to show up for yourself in a way that is really, really, really important and is only going to be, it will only be the reason that you are able to make PRs possible. Personal best effort is what is important. And I say that because my personal best effort 5 years ago is drastically different time-wise than what my personal best effort looks like today. But the effort level behind both of them is the exact same. It doesn't mean that one is more impressive or worse because one is faster or worse. The bravery and the showing up and the work that it takes to accomplish that PB is the same. My heart works the same, my legs work the same. I was just in a different level of fitness then. I was also in my 20s. And you're just different in your 20s, right? Like for a lot of people it can be really difficult, especially when we get into our master's ages. Um it can be hard to wrap your head around the fact that your fastest times might be behind you. And though that might be true, it doesn't mean that your best is behind you. Your personal best is what you're capable of right now, is what you're capable of in 12 weeks, is what you're capable of in 6 months. It doesn't mean that that high that you get when you work really hard for something and then work to make it happen isn't going to be the thing that makes it that like feels wonderful, even though it's 5:30 an hour slower minutes, right? Like it doesn't mean just because it's that much slower that it's not just as rewarding, just as exciting, just as thrilling, just as intoxicating, right? Like it matters. You matter. Personal best matters. That's how you stay in a place of that's how you keep motivation sustainable with running. That's how you stay in love with running forever, is to know when to run for fun and when to run for others and with others and when to run for yourself and to chase PBs. So all of those things are really, really, really important. Now, I will say quickly of PRs, because I feel like when people talk about expectations, this is probably like the biggest one that we coaches get. A lot of people don't know how to set a realistic PR goal, right? Like thinking back to when I was a newer runner in those first couple of years, I had no idea what I was capable of. I remember watching this last year, I watched this vlog series, Be Cure or Bust, for the first time back, and I did these reaction videos, and I remember watching myself talking to Coach Josh and thinking, like, do you think it's possible to go from 3:59 to 3:35? And he was like, absolutely. In this amount of time, we had 6 months, 5 months, and he was like, absolutely. And I just remember thinking, like, how do you think that's possible? That's such a huge jump. And it absolutely was possible because it wasn't that big of a jump, right? In that amount of time and training at the rate I was training, that was possible. And I have this talk with my athletes now when we're talking about stuff is like, sometimes I'll tell them, like, looking at this right now, it's absolutely possible, but we also will have a better idea in like 2 months or 3 months, and we can check in then. And for now, the only thing I really want you thinking about and getting really focused on and driven by is why. Why do you want to make this goal a reality, and what does your personal best effort look like? And how can we work on making that the focus from here until then? It doesn't mean that you won't be disappointed or bummed if we get closer and that moonshot goal or that big PR is still out of reach. But again, you're closer now, right? So how can you get into an idea of what's realistic? You kind of need a coach to guide you on that. And you need to look at where you're at, how you've been working, how much time you have ahead of you, what your life load is like, and what you're really like open to doing. But anything for the most part is possible. Anything. Impossible. Ooh, that's not wicked. That's Cinderella. All right. Oh gosh, this is another one. We all think that we're going to have this endless motivation and that getting out the door is always going to be easy, and that's not the way it works. Even the most intrinsically motivated person is going to struggle to get out the door, is going to have periods of time where they're in a valley and they're like not motivated and just not wanting to be doing stuff. And you might say to yourself, then why are you? And it's like, well, just because sometimes getting out the door is a real struggle, or I'm not in a place where I really want to be doing this thing, I still feel a certain way after, or it's serving me in a way that's making me want to show up for myself like every day. I don't know why I'm pausing. And that's the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes you just got to just do it. Sometimes you just got to get it over with. Sometimes it just needs to happen. And it's just the way it is. You're not going to constantly be endlessly motivated. You're going to struggle. You're going to have times when you're just over it. Right? Does that make sense? We talked a little bit about constant improvement. It's just not going to happen, right? Like that's not how it works. Running's not linear. You're going to have, improve. You're going to get faster, you're going to get slower, you're going to run further, you're going to stop running. It's just the way it goes. It's the fun of running. Got to come back down the mountain. And those are kind of like the big ones, I think, like those are the big expectations. I think this is such a good exercise for everyone to do, is to just sit down with a pen and paper and ask yourself, like, what do I expect from myself today? What do I expect myself from this training cycle? How do I expect it to feel? How am I defining success and failure? What does progress look like? Like all those things, if you can start to get a little bit more specific about what you already think to be true, believe to be true, you may surprise yourself. And it may make this mental game a less of like the bad guy and the thing you're trying to overcome, a source of adversity in your training. But running's a long-term commitment, right? Like it's lifelong. You're gonna have so many ups and downs. It's just the way it goes. So don't be afraid to just get honest with yourself about what your expectations are and all that good stuff. Yeah. That's how you love running for life. This is a really long episode already. I'm not going to answer questions today because we're already at 46 minutes. Who knew I could talk this long? I feel like most of it was me talking in the beginning too. So if you didn't like that, sorry about that. But there's so many ways that you can come train with us in the Badass Lady Gang this year. Our next training experience is about to open up. Registration starts next week, I think January 15th. But training starts February 5th. We're doing a 5K and a 10K training experience, so that if you are going out to the Lululemon 10K in Los Angeles on March 30th, 31st, that training experience lines up with that. But you also don't need to be doing that race to enjoy this 5K or 10K training experience. Our team is always available to you to purchase if you want more support. We get 6 weekly coaching calls now. You get Mondays for a quick coaching call midday, Tuesdays for a quick coaching call midday, Wednesdays 6, 7, 8, and 8 o'clock Eastern time, and then Fridays at noon for a midday coaching call Eastern time. So lots of coaching calls, lots of support, lots of mental game resources, lots of good stuff. If you have any questions, always reach out. I'm happy to talk more about it. But as always, also we have running plans if you just want to get a running plan and be on your way. And we also have a new Badass Lady Gang chapter, Fresno. Fresno is our newest Badass Lady Gang chapter with meetups, I believe, on Mondays. Head to Badass Lady Gang Fresno on Instagram for more info. But that's all I got, everybody. Kick ass, take names. I'll catch you next time.